Okay, where's the tall stoner with the funny facial hair? Where's the funny looking stoner with the confused facial hair? Oh, there's more than one? He's not confused. Wasn't it like that movie with Jim Carrey where he had two personalities? Yeah. Oh, wax, cheap wax.
Hey, here we are. We're all here. Not usually done. We actually. I wouldn't say that.
I'm never late. I don't know where you get this late.
Late? No, there's always been a discrepancy whether or not it was 7:30 or 8. So what happens when we say 7:30 is that people show up at 7 thinking the doors are at 7.
Oh, okay. Right.
Right? So
right.
we're doing something. Oh, good to see that.
Crackers. Fire hazard?
Wow, look at all the candles on that really large cake.
Okay.
What
hey,
you think of the 10th anniversary?
At least I brought a cake. Are you ready?
No.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, dear Flo. Happy birthday to you.
Us.
Okay. We'll make a wish together, okay?
What are we wishing?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know if we can do that. On 7.
7.
Yes.
1.
He's cut the beard off.
5, 6, 7. Yay!
Guess what? I get to keep the beard. All right.
Oh, no. Damn. Oh. I have to do that again now.
No, we don't. 10 years, Bill.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride. Quite a ride.
And what was it, less or west? Less.
Les. Who were we talking about? The man
our ancient Les that used to come and he'd get up on, he'd have to go up 2 or 3 flights. He'd do that. I always sat up a bit.
Yes.
And even upstairs and all that. But he used to go up the stairs to get to the upstairs one.
I know. And all that work.
Yeah. It's kind of why we moved downstairs, was just for him.
For him. Yes, that's right. Then he
Bless
died.
his soul. And his darling daughter would come with him.
Mireille.
Yeah, and just to make sure, and we were just discussing that some of the times when it got real sexy, it must be really hard for an 80-year-old to be sitting with his daughter in the room thinking like that.
When the material got a bit blue.
It sometimes gets blue here.
My daughter doesn't.
I'm not going to
like
mention names, but it sometimes gets blue.
Byron gets awfully blue. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, sex
Byron
limericks.
Blue, the 2 B's. Yeah. Blue Byron? No. Blue.
Yes, so it was great. Great to have him here. Wonderful guy.
They gave a nice mention in the obituary.
So you said
how much he really enjoyed coming out to hang out for the flow, for the Love of Words. Flow.
He liked us. This guy is very efficient, isn't he?
Heavily.
We like him.
We do.
So yes, I would like to point out that even though I'm sure you don't give this man enough credit for other things, it was John's idea, this event. 10 years ago, we were doing some cabarets at the original garage over there.
The original showroom at the garage.
Yes, thank you. And some very interesting cabarets with dancers and flamethrowers and sexy ladies. And
a snake one time.
There was a snake one time. We had many different themes over the years, but there was that element of beat poetry, and I think I was performing some things with rock music backdrop or something.
Well, when we first started, you would have a drum kit. I had you had your snare and a hi-hat and everything else, because it was in the whole style of what I perceived to be in New York in the beat poet days, or a rip-off of that.
Oh, rip-off.
Not a rip-off, a caricature.
A caricature, thank you.
Yeah. A caricature, more.
And then it was perceived that Bill is actually a shitty drummer, and the drums.
No,
he
just got a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
A lot of work, and never, and then it was just we progressed because more and more people came in, and we started finding that it had its feet.
It did have its feet,
and it still does, because here we are.
Thank you all. Yes.
Some say 10 years, some say 10. This is our 11th year.
No, we're beginning our 11th year. It's our 10th.
No,
birthday.
it's what are you 10? Now we're into our 11th year. Already.
I don't know why we do this every year.
You know what Tim said? Is this our 10th again?
Timmy's such a troublemaker.
No, it's the truth. We've celebrated. I've been here before. We've got it documented where we've talked about the 10th anniversary before.
Well, I actually checked. I went back to the original poster. I checked the date, and this is actually the 10th birthday.
You're sure of that?
I'm very sure.
You will attest to that?
Absolutely.
In court of law?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this is our 10th anniversary for the
right.
Love of Words.
Yes.
You dress nice.
Absolutely. Well, I do. It's a special occasion. I brought a cake, huge carrot cake, and you can all have a piece.
It's kind of. I get it. It's kind of like that religious experience that when you go to the Catholic Church or even the United Church, wherever it is, when they give you the wafer.
Yeah.
It's not very much.
No.
You don't go there hungry.
No.
You know.
This is the spirit of flow, and you don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
I noticed. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Levity.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was a lukewarm reception. Thank you very much. Jesus, what's wrong with these people? They never liked me. I knew that. So I had an experience on the weekend, a life-affirming experience, which I'm sure many of you will identify with. I met with the unhappiness troll. And I know that many of you people have met this person. In fact, many of you people may have been this person at one time or another. And in this incarnation, I went to his birthday party, and I was having fun. I was talking to all his friends and having a great time, meeting people I haven't seen for a while, eating a couple of mushrooms. A bit of a ruckus going on in the back here. What's going on? Okay. So, yeah. And standing outside, having a great time. Unhappiness troll comes out the door. He says, no, it was the look he gave me, I think. It was like the almost I don't love you unwelcoming look. And of course, I said, how's your yin? And he said, how's your yang? And so we were at this kind of a standoff place and staring at each other. And he goes, I guess you're just used to being around people who aren't as smart as you. Is that what it is? Or you're just standing there like you know so much, and because you're older, you've got some wisdom or something, and you know what? You're just so used to getting your own way. And the unhappiness troll, I felt, was really, really angry with me for being me. So I had to figure out what that was, Is that me or is that him? And I realized, no, it's the unhappiness troll himself. Has nothing to do with me. I'm perfectly happy myself. Did you turn your phone off? Oh, good. But it was a good experience to be at somebody's birthday party and be the one person that got picked on to be the shit. Or I'm going to take the angry part of the birthday boy's disfavor. So I thought about it for a while. And Tybo, the tiny little blonde, was looking at me, and she goes, are you just going to take that? And I said, and I'm laughing, of course, because I've already been chewing the mushrooms. So I'm very happy, and I do have problems expressing my anger. And she said, you're just going to take that? And I said, yeah, I'm laughing. He's just angry. It's not my fault. She said, yeah, but you would fuck, man. Speak up for yourself. And she tried to give me this exercise. He says, you're an actor. You can do it, can't you? And she gave me this exercise in this scenario. And she said, go. Be angry. And I couldn't do it, of course. I'm just laughing and having a good time. But I realized my incomplete nature as a human, I do have trouble expressing my anger. And so I'm going to be at home working on that for the next year till we turn 11. And then next year you'll see a very angry guy on stage. And here's somebody, one of my old friends, who has no problems expressing their anger. And I wanted to share her works with you. And she's a famous painter, MC, musician, raconteur in the Victoria scene. Used to come up here, but no more. True story. I have always wanted to not be from where I am. I wanted to be as exotic as Aunt Mary and Uncle Ted. They drank highballs and went curling, chain smoked sportsmans and ate spray cheese. I wanted to be from the mysterious back east. Uncle Bob was from back east, And he owned the first pocket calculator I'd ever seen. My grandmother was from back east, and she was a member of the Order of the Eastern Star. Everybody in my family was from back east, but me. I didn't want to be from the Garden City. I wanted to be from the land of rape and honey. All hail Tisdale, Saskatchewan. Not being from where you are frees you up. There's no real need to pretend to fit in, because you don't. You're not from around here, are you? It's the perfect excuse for all kinds of behaviors that would get you in big, big trouble back home. Where I come from, this kind of thing is normal. Trying to make it all the way around the bar without touching the floor, it's a national pastime. It's bigger than hockey. Making out with your landlord's French poodle in the middle of a fancy dinner party. Y'all don't do that here? Whoa, sorry. I didn't know. I'm not from here and I'm not staying, so if you'll excuse me, I have a little unfinished business with your dog. But that's another story. Yes, very warm reception for that. Thank you. Jay McLaughlin, Monster Supremo, dear friend. I'll give you one more before I pass the dais on to you civilized people. Okay, here we go. This page is stupid. And one of her friends put it together with her. And this is kind of the thing I envision if I ever get brave enough to publish my own work, is it would be kind of the text with a picture or the text with a drawing or something like that. It's called This Page is Stupid. In my innermost heart of hearts, it's this thing about pretending to be secretly afraid, of secretly wanting to be ordinary, of secretly wanting sheets with serious thread counts, the ability to make gravy and wear open-toed shoes, the ability to wear white and drink responsibly, shaved armpits, a driver's license, a tame boyfriend, a flat stomach, intimate dinner parties, volunteering, world peace, sex when I am sober, belief in some kind of higher power, have a baby, drive a minivan, dance to world beat. Then I turn around and say, no. I want to be a delicate flower, creepy, chicken shit, alien monster, asshole, vampire, pirate. I don't want to be fixed. I don't want a safe and courteous half-life of willpower, discipline, and simple, sober pleasures. But what I really want is not just to be a delicate flower, creepy, chicken shit, alien monster, asshole, vampire, pirate, but to be loved and cherished by the world for being a delicate flower, creepy, chicken shit, alien monster, asshole, vampire, pirate. I want to be sincere, but I can't. Every time I try, I sound like a West End, West Coast, New Age, wind chime, gumboot, psychobabbling, aura zapping, yoga twisting, Zen rapping, holistic bullshit meister. Once upon a time, I was a good little flower punk. I was a teenage hemp whore for Mr. Marley, but I deliberately killed off my pure inner being of radiant light with a real meal deal ingested sometime during the long, wet winter of '93. Yes. All right, good. I can see you're highly affected by that city poetry, and you people live in the country. I can completely understand. You can see why we're no longer friends. Whoops. I'm a delicate flower child from the sticks. What's that? The riff-raffer mumbling out. Anyway, some of you people have been here for a long time, and I, of course, before we begin, I want to thank you. It hasn't changed much in volume over the years, but it's certainly been always interesting and heartfelt. So thank you for that. And here's a guy who always complains that I put him on last. So Mark Primer, tonight you get to go on first. That's right. My dear friend, Mr. Primer. I can come back and change the...
No,
Tim said, can you handle the microphone?
I'll stand. It took a lot to come out of a warm house with a fire. I did not want to come out. In fact, I didn't really have anything that I thought that I wanted
to read until I picked up Tony Hoagland. Many times I've read Tony Hoagland in front of you people. And these are a couple of Tony Hoagland poems. And then I'll read one of my own, which I've read before and is highly revealing. And for that, I apologize to you, Tracy, because it's your first time out and you get a highly revealing poem. But nevertheless, that's why we'll start with Tony Hoagland. Eulogy. Sorry, ecology. They look the same. Mike moved to the city to begin his life as an adult and to immerse himself in the cultural milieu, but he wound up being one of those fishes employed to use their mouths to vacuum the glass walls of the aquarium, hanging around the edges of the party, fluttering his gills, trying to get closer to the center of the room, where the big fish flash their golden fins expansively. And isn't that the way it goes when you traffic with power? There's always someone with a bigger tail, more talent, better clothes, someone whose blue blood and collegiate chin or low-cut dress and cappuccino skin have something you suspect to do with their success. Thus it was in the tiled courts of the Roman kings, Flaccus peering enviously over Tiberion's shoulder to where Chloe is, dripping her sweet vowels like a trickle of honey into the princeling's ear. The world has always moved that way, small fry darting on the edges of the big ones plowing forward. And you live on what they spill. From the corners of their mouths, scraps of money and prestige floating in their wake. Curse if you want, but it's just ecology at work. And you continue doing what you think is necessary on a level that is simple, automatic, blessed, in a way that you no longer see, even as you wiggle your fins and lash your tail with all the skill that you've acquired to hold your place among the others, like miserable Mike, to whom everything he has looks like just a snack. Mike, when you were a kid, you used to have some imagination. Now, how will you imagine your way out of this? The second poem, which I read, I think, for the first time this evening, I don't recall reading this before. I thought, man, this is a perfect poem for, well, it seemed like a perfect poem. The news cycle's changed again. It was all about women and how men abuse their power with women. And now it's switched again. Yesterday it was Pocahontas business, and today it's was it North Korea, South Korea? I can't remember. But just go back, 3-4 weeks ago when it was all about Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K. and everybody else. This poem's called Adam and Eve. I wanted to punch her right in the mouth, and that's the truth. After all, we had gotten from the station of the flickering glances to the station of the hungry mouths, from the shoreline of skirts and faded jeans to the ocean of unencumbered skin, from the perilous mountaintop of the apartment steps to the sanctified valley of the bed. The candle fluttering upon the dresser top, its little yellow blade sending up, its whiff of waxy smoke. And I could smell her readiness like a dank cloud above a field. When at the crucial moment, the all-important moment, the moment standing at attention, she held her milk-white hand agitatedly over the entrance to her body and said no. And my brain burst into flame. If I couldn't sink myself in her like a dark spore or dissolve into her like a clod thrown in a river? Can I go all the way in saying and say I wanted to punch her right in the face? Am I allowed to say that I wanted to punch her right in her soft face? Or is the saying just another instance of rapaciousness, just another way of doing what I wanted by saying it? Is a man just an animal, and is a woman not an animal? Is the name of the animal power? Is it true that the man wishes to see the woman hurt with her own pleasure, and the woman wishes to see the expression on the man's face of someone falling from great height, that the woman thrills with the power of her weakness, and the man is astonished by the weakness of his power? Is the sexual chase a hunt where the animal inside drags the human down into a jungle made of vowels, hormonal undergrowth of sweat and hair? Or is this an obsolete idea lodged like a fossil in the brain of the ape who lives inside the man? Can the fossil be surgically removed or dissolved or redesigned so the man can be made a human being like a woman? Does the woman see the man as a house where she might live in safety? And does the man see the woman as a door through which he might escape the hated prison of himself? And when the door is locked, does he hate the door instead? Does he learn to hate all doors? I've seen rain turn into snow, then back to rain, and I've seen love turn into fucking, then back to making love. And no one covered up their faces out of shame. No one rose and walked into the lonely maw of night. But where was there, in fact, to go? Are some things better left unsaid? Shall I tell you her name? Can I say it again, that I wanted to punch her right in the face? Until we say the truth, there can be no tenderness. As long as there is desire, we will not be safe. So this poem, let's see who's here tonight.
No disclaimers. Get it on.
Pardon this explanation for some of you because you've heard it before, but for those who haven't, I had an affair that was 6 years ago. I like to refer to it as something that I did which hurt me deeply. It's not so much I think about the damage I did to other people, it's what I did to myself. So this poem comes out of that. And it's the first time that I ever wrote about the affair. It took me probably 6 years before I could write about it. It's called I Thought I Was Different. I was wrong. In fact, I made a list after it was long over where I could see that no, I was not in fact different. Women who have affairs are damaged, and men who have affairs are damaged. Sometimes a man is pulled by his balls, which is not surprising. A man is always pulled by his balls. What it does if he cheats is renew the sexual vigor he felt years earlier, and that makes you a god. It just gets better and better. Think testicles that sparkle. And that is probably what it did for her too. Gave her power over me. And I will tell you, at the time it was glorious. And at the same time I thought, this really isn't fair. She has an unfair advantage. The whole Kama Sutra inside her cunt. I would cry. I could not get enough. But cheating isn't easy. In my case, it made me sick. I suffered indigestion and heartburn. When the affair ended, I was devastated and suffered from a host of complications, both mental and physical. A month after it ended, she had found another man. 2 months later, he moved in with her. 4 months after that, she was pregnant. And a week after that, he was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. Have you ever done a dance when someone was dying? He died the month following. And 8 months later, she gave birth. The affair had lasted 4 years, and in the next 4, I felt everything from anger to bloodlust to guilt. While we were together, there was an abortion, something which seized upon me only after her pregnancy and his death. I felt responsible, even if no one but me believed I was responsible. The world is filled with great irony, and sometimes you succeed in your marriage and your business, not because you did the right thing, but because you did the wrong thing.
Whoa. I'm glad you read that one again. Is glad the right word? Not an easy poem to read and not an easy poem to write. Thanks, Mark. I was going to say a lot of things about John and tell you some funny stories, but luckily he confessed to me that his bedroom is now up there, and I realized he can hear everything. So I remember when we were doing the play in here, and we were staged right down in here, and this was a great, the lattice up here was a great place to watch the play from. And the one night that I just about fell through the lattice and would have come tumbling down onto the spectators. Anyway, so we have a couple of young ladies. Just think about whether you might want to come up as Tracy, Rachel, and because otherwise we're so male-centric, which is not terrible. But anyway, I'll bring up Rob. Rob, who used to come out when we were in the original location, wasn't it, Rob? The Duncan Garage showroom. And he had some lovely mates with him. Corey Blades, and you used to come with Biron too, didn't you? You know Biron, or you don't know Byron.
No, we got acquainted.
It was at the event that you got acquainted, right? Come on up, Rob. Anyway, very glad to have you back, sir.
Thank you. It's too low. I want to stand.
It's too low. Okay, I can change it.
No, it's okay. Good. So I just have a couple of stories tonight. It's coming up the Christmas season, and I have a large family, so there's always family traditions. And there's one story that I like, and I don't know the actors in it originally, but shortly after World War II, a distant uncle returned, and as they called it back then, shell shock. Today you'd probably call it post-traumatic stress disorder. So he was very introverted, very reclusive, but he would come out at Christmas for the family get-together. And his sister, again, I haven't met them, but there's a family story. And what happened, she was very, very tidy, very neat. Just picture an old lady back in the late 40s, early 50s with China. And had a big family gathering. The uncle, he came out, he's very nervous and having a hard time adjusting to regular society. A very hard time adjusting. Never fully did. But the dinner went without a hitch. There was no problems with him. And it was time to clean up. And he decided that he'd want to help. So he gathered up some dishes. And as he walked into the kitchen, something happened, and the dishes crashed to the floor. And his sister didn't know it was him that had the dishes. She was livid. She went running into the kitchen, ready to cut into whoever dropped those dishes, saw who it was, and mid-sentence changed what she was going to say to said, "Who stacked those dishes so high?" So even today, if someone does something, a little bit with a little bit of a problem or whatever the situation is, the joke today or the saying today is, who stacked those dishes so high? So it's a way of deflecting anger and hate, and bringing a bit of humor. So maybe at this Christmas season, if somebody stacks the dishes too high or not, it's a family saying now. So if you have a young kid that does something stupid, and you're starting to get upset, someone will say to you, "Oh, who stacked the dishes so high?" Okay. And the other story I have is I was reading a book recently, and I was gonna read it directly, but I'll just paraphrase it. It gets too long. But there was a person who was having a hard time deciding what to do. He was in a marriage that was not working, and as he said, it was either a choice between suicide or mass murder. He was married, they had a few children, and he did not know what to do. Like I said, for him, the choice was murder, or mass murder, or suicide. And both choices didn't appeal to him. So he was watching a show, and it talked about these pararescue jumpers. And the cream of the cream in the military, these are people that jump from airplanes in the middle of the night, rescuing people in all kinds of situations. The cream of the cream, 90% of the people that enter the program can't make it. Only the top 10% make it. So we have two of these parajumpers. They're flying over the Atlantic. It's a horrible storm out. They're there to try and rescue some people, but the helicopter itself is running into a problem, and it's going to crash. And it's so stormy, you cannot tell where the top of the water is and where the trough is. It's so windy, it's just a mass of white and water. You cannot see. So they know, they're used to jumping, they're used to assessing the risks, but they could not tell how close they were, and they knew they had to bail. So they took a guess, one jumped, and the other jumped. The first one jumped, it was about 70 feet. They thought they were closer. And he fractured some ribs, broke his arm, but he held on and was rescued. And the person that jumped a fraction of a second later was never found. And so what happened, these two jumpers were, with all their training, they really didn't know when to jump, but they had to jump. And one result was success, one result was failure. And after this person watched it, sometimes we just don't know. So the top of their trade, they just didn't know what to do. And so for this guy, divorce, stay in the marriage, what do I do? You just don't know what's going to happen sometimes. And, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith or something. But we can't always guarantee what the outcome is going to be. And as he confided later, he says, at the end of the story was the pilot that had the helicopter, he crashed with the plane and survived without any injuries. So sometimes we just don't know. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So what do you think? A little dialogue about Mr. French's morning coffee routine?
Maybe.
Really? You come up? Yay! Okay, come on.
Read my pictures. Okay.
Read. Well, I didn't want to pressure Rachel because she doesn't normally come up, and I know sometimes she speaks. Andrew, her partner, has a spoken word event the second Tuesday of the month at the Café Lévis, and they host it together. But I'm honored for the birthday. I will never ask again. Rachel, come up and share something with us. Thank you. Oh, you're terrible, Bill. I know. Sorry. Sorry to be so awful.
Ooh, hello.
We needed some feminine input right
Thanks for the intro.
now. There you go.
Yeah, I don't really write words. I write pictures. I'll have an idea or something. I'd love to read a picture, but I don't think I'm very good at that. There is one poem that I did write, or not a poem, but kind of like a reflection, and I posted it online, and it was a true story, and I had a really terrible comment at the end on it, which was really unfortunate, so I deleted it right away. But I'll read it out to you so you can enjoy my own discomfort with me. So this was a memory from when I was staying at my aunt's house, and I have a few aunts and a few like aunts. So this was at my aunt's house. A little nervous. I remember when you broke your mother's gravy boat. You shouted, swore, knelt on the ground and held both halves in your hands and said that it was garbage now. But your sister saved it from your rage and glued it back together and filled it with spider plants. But you couldn't appreciate it because, didn't she hear you? It was garbage now. And then another aunt said, that's weird because someone gave me a gravy boat filled with plants. So when it didn't work for one aunt, she just gave it to the other. And then we were found out. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, yeah. I have one other poem I'd like to read, and it's kind of a fun one. And I asked Andrew if he thought that I should read it, and he's like, geez, I couldn't read it. It's just too cute, but I think they'll let you get away with it. So it's called If I Were Your Dog, and it's by Lorna Crozier. And I think I've read it before, but I'll read it again. You'll just have to sit through it. If I were a dog, I'd be your dog. Not a lap dog. I'm tired of being small, but just to please you, I'd be blonde like Ginger Rogers, and we'd watch her dance like Fred Astaire. I'd dance too up on my hind legs with those high heel shoes, my front paws on your shoulders. We'd dip and twirl, my nails clicking between the fridge and stove, lips curled back in a big doggy grin. Every morning I'd chew your slippers, not to be bad, but just to get the taste of you down deep. I'd slap my tongue in both your ears, touch your skin with my nose, cold and wet below your navel. Oh, how you jump. I'd fetch for you, I'd roll over when you'd whistled, and I'd come, my mouth drooling. I'd bark some poems for you. I'd dig a hole big enough to bury everything you needed to. I'd raise my tail, I'd do that doggy thing that all dogs do. If I were a dog. If I were a dog, oh, what I could smell, a whiff of your breath, and I'd know who you'd kissed and who you'd wanted to. No matter what the moon, I'd howl for you. I'd bite the mailman if the news was bad. I'd bite your 2 ex-wives, your aging children. I'd bite the cop who was rude, the women in the bakery who sold you day-old bread as new. I'd bite you. I'd piss in the corners. I'd guard that part of you wanted no one else to rummage through, if I were your dog. I'd lick your face until it was spittled new, and you were a boy again, running the Okanagan hills all blue, the moon a knuckle bone I'd crack between my teeth, a marrow bone I'd suck dry for you. Oh, I'd be a tough dog, a garbage dog, a mean dog, a bitch. I'd yank the leash, I'd leap the fence, I'd tongue your soft Italian shoes, but baby, if I were your dog, I'd even play dead. I'd play dead for you. Meh.
Thank you, Rachel. For being so gracious.
I don't think anybody could read that as well as you did.
No, that's right. Nobody could. Not Primer, not John, not Andrew. Nobody. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was great. In fact, I don't think it was too cute. It was rather erotic, I thought, in a dog love cutaway. And I don't know if you've all been in the dating pool lately, but I'm always a little nervous about dating a woman who's too close to her dog. Not for any twisted reasons, but how are you going to... You're never going to be loved like she loves that dog, really, are you? So it makes me nervous. Cat women, I can appreciate them. Well done. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. Happy birthday. Mr. Hadfield, we always torture you by waiting till the end, and we won't tonight either. Byron, are you going to be okay, though? I know you're on cold meds. Can you... Yeah, I'm okay. You last a little longer? Okay. John, who tried to get me going by saying, "Oh, I thought I was coming to the musical night." Nice. He's always trying to get me going. But he's been a very welcome reader all these months. Maybe years now, John. Years! John Hadfield.
Thank you, Bill. I think I met Bill in the showroom, just, hanging around. And then I was over at the firehouse, is it?
Oh, yes.
And you were running that wine tasting evening for mainly all those ladies.
Mainly ladies.
Well, that's who drinks wine. You came to me because you had to drink the wine and then answer 4 questions as if that was going to be what would be on the label to describe the wine.
Make up notes, way to make up those crazy notes you see on beer and wine.
Exactly, and then you had to get up on stage and read it, but you had to read it either as a lush or an insane person or sexy or
Didn't really work, did it, that idea?
What?
That idea didn't really work.
Did it not?
Well, I think the ladies had fun, maybe.
I think they did.
Well,
He came up to me at the bar because I didn't really know him, and I was drinking bourbon, and he said, "Why don't you go up?" I go, "Well, this isn't wine." He goes, "Well, do it with bourbon." So I did. I got a prize with that other lady. Yeah, I won. They all thought I was from Kentucky because I put on an accent that I was drinking bourbon.
yes.
But
First
anyway,
time I saw your storytelling nature.
that's true. And then you told me about this.
Yes.
And that segues nicely because he told me, you read poems or excerpts from your favorite books, or didn't say anything about reading your own shit. And so my favorite book is Catch-22, and I'd always wanted to read from it, and I never have because I always read my own shit. So this is the excerpt. Forgive me, Belfit.
Mark's got his eyes.
It might go.
Reading all 700 pages?
Yeah. No, this is a scene where Yossarian's in the hospital, and Dr. Nika comes up to him and says, there's this family coming to see their son who's dying, and they'd come all the way from wherever, but unfortunately the son had died before they got there. So Doc asked Yossarian, "Could you be their son?" And Yossarian's going, "I can't do that. They're gonna know I'm not their son." And he goes, "Well, one dying boy as good as another, so." All right, Yossarian gave in. "If it's just for a few minutes, and you promise to wait right outside." He warmed to his role. "Say, why don't you wrap a bandage around me for effect?" "That sounds like a splendid idea," applauded the doctor. They wrapped a batch of bandages around Yossarian. A team of medical orderlies installed tan shades on each of the 2 windows and lowered them to douse the room in depressing shadows. Yossarian suggested flowers, and the doctor sent an orderly out to find 2 small bunches of fading ones with a strong and sickening smell. When everything was in place, they made Yossarian get back into bed and lie down. Then they admitted the visitors. The visitors entered uncertainly, as though they felt they were intruding. Tiptoeing in with stares of meek apology, first the grieving mother and father, and then the brother, a glowering, heavy-set sailor with a deep chest. The man and woman stepped into the room stiffly, side by side, as though right out of a familiar, though esoteric, anniversary daguerreotype on a wall. They were both short and sere and proud. They seemed made of iron and old, dark clothing. The woman had a long, brooding, oval face of burnt umber with coarse, graying black hair. Her mouth was sullen and sad. I'm jumping around. The father stood very rigid and quaint in a double-breasted suit, broad and muscular. Poverty and hard work had inflicted iniquitous damage on both. The brother was looking for a fight. The 3 creaked forward timidly. They arrived at the side of the bed, staring down at Yossarian. There was a gruesome and excruciating silence that threatened to endure forever. Finally, Yossarian was unable to bear it any longer and cleared his throat. The old man spoke at last. "He looks terrible," he said. "He's sick, Pa." "Giuseppe," said the mother, who had seated herself in a chair with veiny fingers clasped in her lap. "My name is Yossarian," Yossarian said. "His name is Yossarian, Ma." "Yossarian, don't you recognize me? I'm your brother John. Don't you know who I am?" "Sure I do. You're my brother John." "He does recognize me. Pa, he knows who I am. Yossarian, here's Papa. So say hello to Papa." "Hello, Papa," said Yossarian. "Hello, Giuseppe." "His name is Yossarian, Pa." "I can't get over how terrible he looks," the father said. "He's very sick, Pa. The doctor says he's going to die." "I didn't know whether to believe the doctor or not," the father said. "You know how crooked those guys are." "Giuseppe," the mother said again in a soft, broken chord of muted anguish. "His name is Yossarian, Ma. She don't remember things too good anymore. How are they treating you in here, kid? They treating you pretty good?" "Pretty good," Yossarian told him. "That's good. Just don't let anybody in here push you around. You're just as good as anybody else in here, even though you are Italian. You got rights, too." Yossarian winced and closed his eyes so that he would not have to look at his brother John. He began to feel sick. "Now see how terrible he looks," the father observed. "Giuseppe," the mother said. "Ma, his name is Yossarian," the brother interrupted her impatiently. "Can't you remember?" "It's all right," Yossarian interrupted him. She can call me Giuseppe if she wants to." "Giuseppe," she said to him. "Don't worry, Yossarian," the brother said. "Everything's going to be all right." "Don't worry, Ma," Yossarian said. "Everything's going to be all right." I'll skip a little bit. Oh, no, I can't skip this. This is, did you have a priest? "Yes," Yossarian lied, wincing again. "That's good," the brother said. "Just as long as you're getting everything you've got coming to you. We came all the way from New York. We were afraid we wouldn't get here in time." "In time for what?" "In time to see you before you died. What difference would it make?" "We didn't want you to die by yourself." "What difference would it make?" "He must be getting delirious," the brother said. "He keeps saying the same thing over and over again." "That's really very funny," the old man said. "All the time I thought his name was Giuseppe, and now I found out his name is Yossarian. That's really very funny." "Ma, make him feel good," the brother urged. "Say something to cheer him up." "Giuseppe. It's not Giuseppe, Ma, it's Yossarian." "What difference does it make?" the mother answered in the same mourning tone without looking up. "He's dying." There. It goes on. Though at the very end, the doctor comes in and gets them out, and the brother says, "And don't let anyone push you around here. You're just as good as anybody else in heaven, even though you are Italian." "Dress warm," said the mother, who seemed to know. Anyway, I think that's it. Is that my time? Yeah. Fuck off, Mark. Yeah, remember, I'm just the opposite of Bill, actually. If you want lessons on anger, I'd be happy. I've come out the other end. I'm very meek right now, but I remember what to do. So I can fucking tell you what to do. It's in the tone, you know. Yeah, and you got to just think that people are there to piss you off, really. That's all they're good for. Doesn't matter what they say to you, you're pissed off. But you know what they say? It's better to be pissed off than pissed on. But then I always say, well, you should try it first.
How's everybody doing? Tea? All right, let's take a break for tea. And cake. Let's cut the cake. All right. Did you cut the cake, John? Hopefully everybody can stay. Just like a 10-minute cake break.
Oh, baby, let's go, boy, and get this soul by the road. You really got me going. Your love is worth.
And that's okay, Bill. I have to say a few things. I'm just going to say that to all the people that are here and those that are watching, that the music that you're listening to, in between sets, in between our shows, the spoken word, are all pieces of work that were recorded here live at the Duncan Showroom. And that last person you just heard was Art Napoleon. And the reason I wanted to come in right after that was because if you don't know Art Napoleon, please do yourself the flavor. When it comes to words, the gentleman has access to a wonderful, witty vocabulary and a sense of resolution that I can't, with all the things that he's had to experience in his life just by being who he is, by the very nature of his heritage, he still has a way to come back in such a wonderful, witty way. He's actually got a food show on now. He's a cook. Not a cook. He goes around tasting, I wish I could remember the name of it. But he goes to all the different reserves and tries all the different foods that they grow or that they kill and tries the recipes on that. And they have it on WVTN. It's really kind of neat stuff. Anyway, Bill. He's going to read about mushrooms. No. He's going to read about how to cook mushrooms.
Oh, how to eat mushrooms.
No, how to cook them. He's a chef.
Art or Bill?
Bill.
Bill is a chef. Yes,
Yes.
I love to cook.
Yes.
Love to cook.
He's a published writer.
Who? Bill who?
Bill Jones.
Bill. Who's Bill Jones?
He's sitting right over there.
That's Bill Jones?
Yes.
Well, hi, Bill.
A published writer.
He's a cook and a published writer.
Yes.
Well, now I'm
Bestsellers.
less confused.
Do you know something?
No.
The 39 Days of July, right?
Yeah.
3 brochures have gone out, the last 3 of them,
Right.
right? Twice, 2 of those issues, the president, the new president, has had a chance to put a word in there.
You let somebody else put a word in?
But you know what?
Why? You didn't have a choice?
All of those.
Oh.
Everything in there. I wrote those. Everything was in there.
And you masqueraded
So
as
that makes
someone
me
else.
like 15,000
Right.
distribution.
Yeah.
That's a bestseller in Canada.
Oh, I see you're published.
Yes.
Good man.
Nice cover.
Nice cover.
Yeah.
I get published in the programs of the amateur theater. That's only about 1,200. That's not quite there, is it?
It's getting closer.
Getting close. Okay.
No, don't worry, sir. Everyone knows
I
who
should
you
put
are.
a naughty poem in next time I have a chance.
Yeah, I would think you should do that. I think you should do that.
I'm gonna put in a poem about some woman's dog.
Oh,
Sorry.
speaking of which, Shirley No was
So
just
Bill, what's your name, Bill? Mark, we're on here. Sit down. Bill
here. Jones.
Jones, would you like to come up? Really? You no. All right, fine. Well, you gave him a big build-up, and see, you just whoosh.
I just tell you that something like, okay, one night we had an open
Right.
mic here.
Yeah.
Right. It was open mic, just a regular open mic, music happening.
Yeah.
Young guy gets up, James from Green Lights,
Right.
sings his heart out. Austin gets up, and another guy gets up too, and it was just, it was wonderful, right?
Yeah.
And then James, his mother brings him in from Shawinigan, right?
Yeah.
So she's here for all the time, and that's very cool that she's such a supportive parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she was very proud of her son singing because he's got a great stage presence and everything about, right? So I texted him later and I said, do tell your mother that Dan Hill was in the audience listening to her son tonight.
Right.
And she was blown away. She said,
Oh, yeah.
she didn't stop singing Dan Hill songs for the rest of the evening.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Not that Dan's not a great talent, but yeah.
Backstreet Boys like him. They made a bunch of money. They made him a
They
bunch of money.
did? Backstreet
made him a
Boys
whole
doing
bunch of money.
Dan Hill? Wow.
Yes.
John didn't tell me that.
No, he writes for a lot of other people.
All right.
Doesn't he, John?
Oh,
Or a lot of other people record his music.
I didn't know that.
It's because the songs are so universal and music works for everybody. Good writers are like that. You would know that, wouldn't you?
No.
I didn't think so.
No. I've never been considered a good writer. Who are you talking about? Okay. since you're all so complacent. Look. Look, deep inside my head, past the class clown, past the drunken loudmouth, past the furious adolescent crying out for love and understanding. See? Keep on going past the tomboy, past the girl guide, past half-finished lesbian dioramas of Helen Keller and Florence Nightingale, past the cross-eyed puppies shivering in the rain, past the deep freeze, past the furnace. Just ignore Paris Hilton and Donald Trump doing it in doggy style. Dude, past the nerdy Amerasian teen and the incurably vain woman from Transylvania. Past the has-been wannabe dilettante debutante. Take a sharp right at my inner secretary, and there you are. I'm sure many of you can identify with this journey. Okay. Have we got you back now? Okay. You brought some friends in? Good. Where'd they go? What, they didn't want to read? We get a published author in here and we can't keep them? For God's sake. I guess it was a drug deal. Oh, God. And I'm secretly drinking scotch on stage, and they're out there hooting up. It's no longer a secret. This is on all-age venue. Okay. Apocalypse. This is a good photo. Rachel, fishnet stockings, person on the floor, and personal effects. Okay. Apocalypse. We could all be having sex right now. Bullshit parties, insular conversations, pretending to listen when I'm really just checking out your rack, waiting for my turn to talk. Let's cut the crap. Let's have sex, all of us, together. We can have some drinks, a little slow dancing, then we'll lock the car door. Tongue kissing, heavy petting, dry humping, cock sucking, ass fucking, mutual masturbation, whatever. Our daytime selves will just poof, disappear. And we'll kiss and we'll lick and we'll hump and we'll tease and come on, baby, I love the way you move. Classy chassis, oh, honey, yeah, just like that, yeah, just like that. Oh, yeah. Oh, my, oh, fuck, yeah, oh, come on, yeah, do me. Oh, I'm gonna come, I can't. Oh, God, no, I can't. Oh, ah. And after, when we were all sated and satisfied and smoking and eating ham sandwiches and watching Simpson reruns on Channel 15, all wrapped up in a warm blanket of saliva and bravado, then we can all drink this rat poison and die. If you are feeling uncomfortable with the idea of fucking total strangers and then killing yourself by drinking rat poison, I can help. I have a gun. So, whatever you end up doing, kissing or cocksucking, I am giving you the option. You can do it at gunpoint. Which for shy people I think is probably the best option. You did what? I know, they had a gun to my head. So this is the kind of, Jay, she's a one-woman force to be reckoned with. Anyway, I hope that's a good entrance into the second half for you people. I don't know. Les is no longer here to shock. We don't have any children. So, having performed that, I will now invite our new guest, Darcy. Did I get that right?
Indeed, I am new.
Oh, good. Yes, so won't you welcome him, please? A new reader.
Very new. Yeah, I guess you could call me fresh meat. In fact, we did start the evening off quite seriously and quite some deep poetry, which I really appreciated. I think this is going to be on the other side of that, definitely more on the levity side. In fact, it's very fresh. In fact, it's so fresh that I hadn't even been aware of this guy before I had dinner tonight. In fact, it was my niece that turned me on to this fellow. His name is Harry Baker, and he apparently he was going to be a doctor, and his parents wanted him to be a doctor, and then he decided, well, I want to be an artist. They settled on math. He became a mathematician. So this is one of his poems, which I find rather interesting. I don't think I'll get through the whole thing because, you'll see. And perhaps I'm just saying this because I'd never heard of the guy before, and so why don't I pass him on to you? The point is that I'll get tongue-tied saying this, and then you'll get tired of it, and we'll just end it at some point. So here we go. Harry Baker. I like people. I like people. I'd like some paper people. They'd be purple paper people, maybe pop-up purple paper people. Proper pop-up purple paper people. How do you prop up pop-up purple paper people? I hear you cry. Well, I'd probably pop-up purple paper people with a proper pop-up purple people paperclip. But I'd be pre-prepared appropriate adhesives as alternatives. A cheeky pack of blue tack just in case the paper slipped. Because I could build a pop-up metropolis. But I wouldn't want to deal with all the paper people politics. I've been cut off already, I can see. Paper politicians with their paper-thin policies, broken promises without appropriate apologies. There'd be a little paper me, a little paper you. And we could watch paper TV, and it would be all pay-per-view. We'd see the poppy paper wrappers rap about their paper package. Or watch paper people carriers get stuck in paper traffic on the A4 paper. There'd be a paper Princess Kate, but we'd all stare at paper Pippa, and we'd all live in fear of Killer Jack the Paper Ripper. Because the paper propaganda propagates the people's prejudices. Papers printing pictures of the photogenic terrorists. A little paper me, a little paper you. In a pop-up population, people's problems pop up too. There'd be a pompous paper parliament who remained out of touch and who ignored the people's protests about all the paper cuts. Then the peaceful paper protests would get blown to paper pieces by the confetti cannons manned by preemptive police, and there'd still be paper money, so there'd still be paper greed, and the paper piggy bankers pocketing more than they need, purchasing the potpourri to pepper their paper properties. Others live in poverty and ain't acknowledged properly. A proper poor economy where so many are proper poor, and while their needs are ignored, the money goes to big wars. Origami armies unfold plans for paper planes, and we remain imprisoned in our own paper chains. But the greater shame is that it always seems to stay the same. What changes is who's in power choosing how to lay the blame. They're naming names, forgetting these are names of people, because in the end it all comes down to people. I like people, because even when the situation's dire, it's only ever people who are able to inspire, and on paper it's hard to see how we will all cope. But in the bottom of Pandora's box, there's still hope. And I still hope because I believe in people. People like my grandparents, who every single day since I was born have taken time out of their morning to pray for me. That's 7,892 days straight of someone checking I'm okay, and that's amazing. People like my aunts who puts on plays with prisoners. People who are capable of genuine forgiveness. People who like persecuted Palestinians. People who go out of their way to make your life better and expect nothing in return. You see, people have potential to be powerful. Just because the people in power tend to pretend to be victims, we don't need to succumb to that system. And the paper population is no different. There's a little paper me and a little paper you. And in the pop-up population, people's problems pop up too. But even if the whole world fell apart, we'd still make it through because we're people.
Thank you, Darcy. I hope you will come back again. Are you Couchinites?
Pardon me?
Yes.
I work there.
There, here. You live in Couchin.
Oh, I see.
I mean, we call this the Couchin, the lake, the valley. Oh, nice, nice. You're a Hornbyite. Oh, nice.
My ex-wife who calls me her husband.
Wow, husband. And you're still friends. That's a beautiful thing. Rob and I were talking about longevity of relationships. And, well, Rob had this great idea. He's got some friends who are putting on what would you have called it, Rob? A marriage communications thing? But his idea, of course, being single, you could get set up with someone you don't know and you could still do the workshop and still learn something, and you might meet somebody you actually like. But for you guys, now that you've been apart all these years, you could do the workshop and still be apart. But oh no, so anything could happen. It's an idea, but you're still friends. That's very cool. Yes, I get hate mail from my exes. That's all right, but it's very nice you came together. What's going on over here? There's a lot of rumbling. What's going on?
I'm drinking hot chocolate.
Oh, your stomach? Hot chocolate with carrot cake? One day, Primer and I were at the bar in Crofton, and it's called the Osborne Bay Crofton Pub. What's it called? Thank you. What's called? Osborne Bay. Yes, which is related to the road or something. And we were having a very interesting discussion, or I thought it was interesting, and Mark may have been bored, and I was, of course, confessing far too much to such a character. Anyone who bakes bread for a living, you got to keep your eye on him. No, it was great. It was a great day, and through the sunshine of the clouds came this wonderful person to illuminate our male discussion, Tracy. And she was great, and you were here, and perhaps you want to read something. You're thinking about it. Did you get a smoke? I know that would have helped. No, okay. Damn. Yeah. No pressure. If you don't want to come up, that's fine.
I almost did. I just wasn't prepared. And so
Right. You could just read. You can see how unprepared most of us are. Oh, yeah. Rough. It's been about just kind of sharing, reading for 10 years. And yeah. You could do it. Don't be shy. Okay, that's fine. No pressure. Okay. We just thought we'd try. Maybe it was the wrong setup. Sorry, I went for the sunshine through the clouds thing. Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. Thank you. We'd be honored if you wanted to share something. That's what we've been doing for 10 years, reading to each other, and it's been fun. Mr. Now I could torture Andrew by putting him on last, or Byron. I don't know. I think I should torture both of you, really. But Byron's a bit sick. Andrew, do you mind? Okay. A bit sick. He's a bit off. He's had a cold lately. Errol Nimbley with his Scotch bottle. What are you drinking there tonight? Seltzer? Okay. One of our other stalwarts. You and Rob both qualify because you're from the old crew. Originally, you've been there since the beginning. Not quite, but quite a while. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Well, first off, I get this out of the way. I have a daughter living at home. She's really into fantasy, so I walked through she reads a lot of fantasy novels. So I walked through the dining room, and on the table there was a Robert Zelazny novel from 1985, and the title was The Trumps of Doom. So I thought that was kind of timely. Okay. Well, a year ago I got my DNA done, and nothing's been the same since. I have a fourth cousin in England, and we did a little back and forthing today. And well, first of all, I'd like to say I was reading another book about local history. It was the history of Cobble Hill Village, and in it said that back in the day, like 1860 or something like that, people would walk from Cobble Hill Village to Cowichan Bay to meet the boat to get things. So I figured, well, how far is that? It's just over 5 miles one way. So okay. And then I thought, when I went to high school in North Surrey, a place where when roads were put in grand style at the beginning, when they surveyed, they put everything in 1 mile squares, a 1 mile grid, and then, other roads that go in between, so forth. So you were always guaranteed, though, if you walked a mile, you'd come to a crossroad. And so my walk to high school was just over 2.5 miles one way. So I get this email today from from Sharon Richardson, my new fourth cousin in England. We share common ancestors. And she sends me a picture of Tadcaster, Yorkshire, when she lives a little ways out of Tadcaster. And the last paragraph reads, "It's amazing to think our ancestors would have walked the 2 miles or so from Stutton and the surrounding areas into the town to do their weekly shop and to attend the church and chapel." So it was a really big deal to walk 2 miles back in the day. Wow, imagine that. People did that. So it's all kind of, relative. Okay, so I got that put aside. So I have here a book. I've measured out a part of it. I've got about a 6-minute read here. This is A Son of the Fur Trade. I want to give you a taste of this. The Memoirs of Johnny Grant, who was born in 1833. So what I'm going to read to you about is something that happens about 1836. These are his memoirs that he dictated to his wife in 1905 and 1907, and I found out that he's one of my great-great-grandfathers. So it kind of ends up good, with a bit of a punchline here. So I kind of do the end of this. So I'll try to keep it to the 6 minutes. And you can sort of pick through it and kind of get what you get out of it here. Okay. My mother died in the spring of 1832. She died suddenly, leaving 3 sons and 1 daughter, my brothers Richard and William, my sister Jane, and myself. I was only 18 months old at the time, so I do not remember anything of it. When I was grown up, my father told me some things that were very pleasing about my mother. Oh, how I would have loved her, how my heart yearned for her, she dying so young. I missed her through life. If she had lived, everything would have been different. I am sure my boyhood would have been more pleasant. I regret not having my father say more about Edmonton. That's where they are. What I do know is what he said himself. Had I known that I would have come back and made my future home in the place of my birth, and have written about it, I would surely have interested myself more concerning the country. In one of his conversations about the time he resided in Edmonton, he said that the Hudson's Bay Company raised wheat, barley, and vegetables, also potatoes in abundance. He told me on one occasion a little story about a French Canadian who was a great eater and who had bet someone that he could eat 13 potatoes and 5 whitefish in one meal. The potatoes were to be the largest, picked from a pit in which there was 1,000 bushels. He won the bet and afterwards was nicknamed Treize Potates, which means 13 potatoes. The dead furrows on the HBC's flat is ample proof that cereals were cultivated long ago. When I was 3 years old, my father took all of us children in a birch bark canoe, I suppose with the Fur Brigade, to 3 rivers, that's Trois-Rivières, Quebec, to his own mother, because his mother had died and he decided that he'd take the kids to the grandparents to raise them, send them to school. I remember very little of the voyage. The only incident I recollect was I had a little white kitten. I suppose they let me take it for amusement. One day my kitten fell into a pail of tar kept for mending the canoe, and how I cried to see my kitten so dirty. When we got to Sault Ste. Marie, we went to see my father's brother Francis. He was married and had a large family, 7 sons and some daughters. His wife was a very tall woman. She was very kind and motherly to us. She gave us a pail of huckleberry jam to take on the trip. I remember that incident, for the jam was something new. My brother William took his bow and quiver full of arrows the whole way to 3 Rivers. He was a good archer and a good runner. My father was telling us that on one occasion, as he was coming around the corner of the fort, Edmonton, he caught William betting buttons against arrows with a little Indian. My father asked what he was doing. He replied, "I am betting with him that I can beat them all running." My father asked him if he was not ashamed to run with those naked young Indians. He answered, "I am not." "Now you look out. If they beat you, I will give you a whipping." "They will not," William said, and they did not either. It was not only the young Indians that he could beat. After he went to college in St. Hyacinth, His Great Grace, the late Archbishop Taché, who was there at the same time as my brother, said my brothers were like deers in the plains, but William was always the fastest, swiftest. When we passed through Montreal, we spent a day in that city. My father took us around the city, and as we passed the market, he said to us to take the kind of fruit we wanted. So I picked a large turnip, not knowing the difference between fruit and vegetables, for I had never seen any fruit. My father told me to leave it and gave me some fruit, but the bystanders had a good laugh at my expense. After a journey of 3 months, we arrived at 3 Rivers. When we got to my grandmother's, my father said we were very bashful for some time. I suppose we were like young Indians, and when my grandmother's lady friends would come and ask to see Dick's children, the young Bois Brûlés, which is a name given to the natives of the Northwest, we would all run away. If they had not been quite so stylish, it might have been different, but they were beautifully dressed in the height of fashion. My grandmother had many friends and relatives. She was connected to several families in Montreal and 3 Rivers, to the Desmontenacs, the Niverville, the La Brocquieries. His Grace, the late Archbishop Taché's mother, was a Miss de la Brocquierie, to the Cressets, the Brobiens, and the Deschambaults, one of whom was a chief factor at the Hudson's Bay Company at Fort Cumberland for a number of years. He raised a large family who were all educated at St. Boniface when he died after he had left the company. I said before that we all ran away when the company came, but I, being the youngest, was often caught and kissed by the ladies. I pretended to resist, but I remembered I liked it. Okay, now to wrap up. One day I made them laugh. There was company in the parlor. Several ladies were there. I was watching them for some time, ashamed to go in, although I wanted to go. At last I could not stand the temptation any longer, so I ran in on tiptoe and kissed one of the ladies on the neck and ran back so fast she had no time to catch me. I could not help doing it, for it seemed as though my whole nature forced me to go in. I may reflect here that about this part of my nature, this great fondness for women, which has followed me through life, that it has brought me very close to trouble at times, but I always got out of it without any serious consequence. If any of my old friends read this story of my life and are surprised to find little about the escapades and errors of my younger days, let them not believe for one moment that I am a hypocrite, for I do not intend to reveal all of my private life here. It might not be interesting to the general public, and some passages might not be just suited to the taste of my fair readers, so I will omit some. So that's a taste of just getting underway with it. But wow, it's going to be fascinating. So I hope you enjoyed that little departure from limericks. Thank you.
Whoa. And it turned into a sex story after all. Who knew? Primer. He's always chatting. He just can't help himself. Now we've got a buzz. I know, Mark, you've often said that to yourself too. I couldn't help myself. Tim's upstairs. We got a buzz. Thank you, Byron. And I know you've been really excited about finding your the many connections of your family. And
I should add that he actually had 28 children.
28. He didn't have them. He may have fathered them. There are a few ladies here. Let's be careful how we speak. I gave birth to 28 children. You just couldn't keep a knot in it, could you, fella? 28 children. Wow, that's amazing. Poor woman. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Wow, that's great. I don't know what happened. We just got this. It was Byron's fault, actually. I don't know what he did. Yeah, he was tuning the speakers or something. I don't know. Tooting. Yeah. Brrr. Oh, is it just that? Sorry. I don't think I stepped on anything, but maybe I did. Okay. Sorry to disturb you. Tim, ladies and gentlemen. Well, without whom we would be nothing. A hand for Tim. Hey. Thank you. I saw that. That was quick. Wow. That was great. Somebody is watching out there. And thanks you all now to Mr. French. Thank you for graciously going on last. Andrew, us old dogs, we're just not fit for the ending anymore. John and Primer, they get tired. They start to nod off. And so Andrew's been on many adventures with his lady lately. Great travels, I would think. And you're still doing the Café Lévis. Good on the second Tuesday. And many of you have been there. I know some of you. I've been once. I hope to go again. But for all of you who are interested, it's also a reading and sharing night, would you say? You always have these great descriptions, but basically? Drinking? Canada and Kenneth. Yes, Canada and Kenneth. And as Mark says, they sometimes go out for a beer, which is a very nice thing. Monsieur French, the co-host of the Spoken Word second Tuesday of the month. Okay.
So I haven't been writing much poetry lately. It's mostly like articles and so forth, which isn't that great. So last night I went and looked at what I had, and there was one piece. I'm not going to read it, but I read it and it made no sense whatsoever, and not like in an avant-garde surrealist sort of way. It just made no sense. So I'm a little bit fragile right now, just wondering if things make sense or not. But that being said, we'll just go and then see where we get to. So, on my better days, it doesn't bother me. And I go for walks and I haunt communal parks. With a pack of cigarettes in my breast pocket, I try to rediscover the sublime, surrounded on all sides by man-made structures. On my better days, I consider everyone God. Some a spitting image, others just a marvelous appendage of his omnipresent style. And some are his golden eyelashes, and some are his manicured beard. while others the discarded trimmings of his expansive toenail. And for better or worse, some are his eyes and wait in endless lines to obtain the right forms for equality. And you could tell when you encounter them by that uncanny concentration, that feral sense of faith. And some resemble a Juno, and some Job, and some know their God and create quite the problems with the power dynamics at work. And some know they are God and peddle health food and mindfulness training, each coming with their own testaments and a subtle scent of brimstone, always assuming the right of way at any given roundabout or crossroad, while others are completely unaware of what they are and simply go about their day, fulfilling prophecies and beefing up allegories with each step. And on my better days, I consider everyone God and remain utterly unapologetic when someone tries to clear up the confusion. Yeah. I think I've been spending, I guess everyone has, considering it's winter, but too much time in your own head and also just in a really confined space. And I have this cat who he oscillates between sleeping and just meowing, but in a really ungodly way. So that's like, by and large, the way that I go through days. So these bright lights are marvelous, and a microphone. Yeah, so I'll just do 2 more and then we'll be done. So deep in the depths of self-absorption, I answered after the 5th ring, and I hesitate at the receiver like a child left at home without supervision. And then I hear her speak and am once again reconciled to the world. And her intangible smile comes through the airwaves along with the radiation. And again I'm reconciled with the world. So I start sprouting out nonsense about astral weeks and TB sheets, the tripartite structure of the soul, with a Scarborough suitcase in my stomach and Joseph Campbell on pause. I slur through an expansive sense of wonder, with a passion seldom seen in someone of my disposition. This is a nonsense piece, I'm not going to read it, but no, it's actually really bad. The next one's long, so then we'll just be done. I read this before, I think, but it makes sense for this time of year, so we'll do it again, I guess. Isn't it odd to find yourself here, tethered to a wintered muse while all your friends are someplace warm, like Mexico City or Shangri-La, stamping their passports with whimsical experiences, all rosy-cheeked among the ruins, while tired of tapping, your hand takes his cold hand, and together you cut a clumsy path up the articulate and silent hillsides, where the air is dense with elemental smells, the growth and decay of natural things. And together you trudge through the mud, sweating and trying to fall in sync. But he's a burden to the atmosphere with a careless and unplanned path, talking expansively about the varying shades of gray when all you want is green. All you want is green, and you ask him to please be careful if anything should happen to bud around his feet. And hearing its urgency, the songbirds themselves are hushed by your labored voice, while the winter muse takes your hips and tries to reach that feral summit. And once there, he'll stop dead in his tracks and block your view. And the whole trek back home, you'll hiss his name under your breath and curse his Sherpa ways for leading you astray. Because that summit was the only comfort you have that could resemble the sublime. And for many long months, you spend most days indoors, where the windows matter very little and all you see is gray. As the winter muse confuses himself with wayward cartography, and stomping sprouting things as they grow, Scottish brooms and the clean sheets in your bedroom. until one day the light almost overstays its visit in your apartment, and the houseflies have it easy on their tarmac of your windowsill, and all the layers fall off you like courteous guests collecting their coats. Yes, the light stays longer with you, and the river will welcome your body into its crooked arms, and the sun will be strong and long-enduring for you. And when all you want is green, it will be right there in front of you. So the winter muse gives way to another who flourishes with verdant violence well beyond anyone's control, whose growing velocity extends well beyond your aim. And I'll be damned, and things might be better, but I'll be damned if each season doesn't come with its own demons. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. And thanks to you all for coming out to enjoy the birthday celebration. Absolutely, the 10th birthday, historically
10 full years.
conferred. Yes, what's that word? 10 full years. Yes, we've done 10 full years, 10th birthday. Hence, 10th birthday. I love having discussions with pot smokers. 10 full years. The idea birthed in Longevity John's brain. Who knows what's going on in there? I don't know. But it worked out well, John. Thank you. A wonderful thing you've birthed here.
I know you tried to escape a few times.
Oh, I sure did. And I swore off you again this summer, but that's all right. I'm back. Here we go. Hunter S. Thompson, The Rum Diary. For those books you need to reread this winter. Just a little bit before I let you go. We came to Fajardo after an hour's drive in the hot sun and immediately stopped for a drink at the first bar. Then we drove up a hill on the outskirts of town where Sella puttered around for almost an hour, setting up his camera angles. He was a grudging perfectionist, no matter how much contempt he had for his assignment. As the only pro on the island, he felt he had a certain reputation to uphold. When he finished, we bought 2 bottles of rum and a bag of ice. Then we drove back to the turnoff that would take us to Yemen's beach house. The road was paved all the way to the river at Loiza, where 2 natives operated a ferry. They charged us $1 for the car, then pulled us across the other side, not saying a word the whole time. I felt like a pilgrim crossing the Ganges, standing there in the sun beside the car and staring down at the water, while the ferrymen leaned on their poles and shoved us toward the palm grove on the other side. We bumped across the dock and they secured the barge to an upright log where Sella drove the car to solid ground. We still had the 5 miles of sand road before we got to Yemen's place. Sella cursed the whole way, swearing he would turn back except that he'd be hit for another $1 to go back across the river. The little car thumped and bounced on the ruts, and I thought it would come to pieces at any moment. Once we passed a pack of naked children stoning a dog beside the road. Sella stopped and took several pictures. Jesus, he muttered. Look at those vicious little bastards. We'll be lucky to get out of here alive. When we finally got to Yemen's, we found him on the patio wearing the same filthy black trunks and building a bookshelf out of driftwood. The place looked better now. Part of the patio was covered with an awning made of palm fronds, and beneath it were 2 canvas deck chairs that looked like they had belonged in one of the better beach clubs. Man, I said, where did you get those? Gypsies, he replied. $5 apiece. I think they stole them in town. Where's Chenault? Sella asked. He pointed down at the beach, probably sunning herself down by that log. She puts on a show for the natives. They love her. Well, thanks again for coming out. I hope you'll come back next month. And remember, deal with your anger. This is, I meant to tell a story about Jay because she was great. She used to, in my failed folk career, we had a duo together, and she would not only mock me during the songs, but in between the songs. So it was kind of a thing. It was part of our shtick, I guess. And I would just laugh. But as you can see, I've been building up anger, John, and I've got to deal with it before it turns to cancer. Bitch. No, she. And I was reading from Jay McLaughlin's Monster Supremo, for those of you who wondered, because I know your relatives are just like this book, aren't they? Christmas time, madness. Anyway, be safe out there. Now, John. Oh, he's gone off to smoke some marijuana again. You just can't take your eye off these people. I tell you, so the last Tuesday of December would be when? The 27th, maybe. Would someone like to host it? I will be in the middle of a panto. Mark, John Hadfield, Byron. I don't know who would turn up, but somebody might turn up. Is the last Tuesday? Oh, that's weird, isn't it? What do you say? What would you do, Andrew? What would Andrew do? I ask myself that often. If your date fell on the that's a bit weird, isn't it? Nobody's going to come. Oh, Christmas. Really?
No, it's the 26th. It's Boxing Day.
Yeah, that's what somebody said, Boxing Day. I guess we'll make a call. John's maybe got us on the schedule. I don't know. I wish he was here. Where is he? John? If it's a day?
If it's a day, then he's got you on the schedule. There's no day off.
All right. Boxing? No, I'll be in the middle of a pantomime. But would somebody like to host that has time? That somebody might show up. Thanks for jumping in. Tim will do it. Maybe we just leave it as a drop-in, Tim. I don't know. The big guy's not here. We should. That's why I wanted to, because these guys are here. But if we let them go, it'll never happen. He was just there. Oh, okay. All right. Watch for it on Facebook. I can't give you an answer right now. It's a bit of an odd date. But if not, then we'll see you in January. And Andrew, you're doing yours in the first part of December? What's the date of that one? Oh, shoot. Give you a minute to go for your phone. It's okay. 12th, is it? Second Tuesday? Okay, there you go. And, oh. This guy... Wrong. Oh, my God. The guy bakes bread for a living. Don't ask him a technical question. Oh, my God. Primer, get it together. Okay, what day is it? December 12th. 12th. You were right. Okay, December 12th at Café Lévis, Canada Ave and Kenneth. And I'm not sure what we're doing. So we'll certainly be back here in January if we're not here in December. But you could come and see a pantomime at the Mercury Theatre. Very fun. Very funny between Boxing Day and New Year's Eve Day. $10. Cheap entertainment. Tickets at 10 old books. And come and see lots of shows here, right, Tim? Many shows here so that they can stay open. How's things going? Good. Good. Artistically great, right? Right. That's true. You guys artistically are rocking. Yeah. Okay, so we got to help out and show up. And I know I'm a terrible one.
We got a sold-out show the day after tomorrow, Eagle Eyes.
Who is that?
The Eagles cover band.
Oh, my God. Interesting. And the Beatles a cappella quartet.
That's December
That looks good.
9th or something? Yeah.
Right.
And Ryan McMahon's December 6th, I think. That'll be a good one.
Lots of good shows. And you could also gift. A good thing, you guys, if you're new, give the gift of show do. Show dough. Show dough. Sorry, Tim. Anyway, thanks for coming to the birthday. I love you guys. Hope to see you again. Thank you very much.